Is Steve Cohen's billion-dollar checkbook turning the New York Mets into baseball's most expensive comedy show? Or are we witnessing a calculated gamble that could reshape the National League East? Because right now, watching the Mets front office operate feels less like championship strategy and more like a desperate gambler at a casino, doubling down after every loss. The Mets just executed a trade that has sent shockwaves through baseball, not because of its brilliance, but because of its sheer audacity. They've acquired Luis Robert Jr. from the Chicago White Sox in exchange for former top prospect Luisangel Acuña and right-handed pitcher Truman Pauly. On the surface, Robert checks boxes: elite defensive center fielder, former All-Star, Silver Slugger winner, and a player who once received MVP votes. But peel back the layers, and you'll find a $20 million question mark wrapped in injury concerns and 2 consecutive seasons of declining production. Let's establish the historical context here. Rewind to July 2024, when the baseball world was buzzing about a potential mega deal. The Los Angeles Dodgers were reportedly orchestrating a massive 3-team blockbuster that would have brought Luis Robert Jr., ace pitcher Garrett Crochet, and hard-throwing reliever Michael Kopech to LA in one fell swoop. That deal collapsed. The reasons remain murky. Some reports suggested medical concerns, others pointed to the White Sox's astronomical asking price. Whatever the reason, Los Angeles pivoted with championship precision. They grabbed Kopech from the White Sox and acquired Tommy Edman from the St. Louis Cardinals in a separate 3-way trade. Both players contributed meaningfully to the Dodgers' 2024 championship run. Edman became a postseason hero, delivering clutch hits and Gold Glove caliber defense. Meanwhile, Luis Robert Jr. remains stuck in Chicago, trapped in baseball purgatory with the worst team in the majors. The White Sox stumbled to a historically bad 2024 season, losing 121 games. Robert's individual performance mirrored his team's struggles. A .224 batting average, a paltry .657 OPS, and injuries that limited him to just 100 games. For a player earning $15 million that season, those numbers were catastrophic. Robert's 2025 season didn't provide any evidence of a rebound. He hit .223 with a .661 OPS, and injuries once again robbed him of approximately a third of his season. These aren't minor slumps. These are 2 consecutive years of subpar performance from a player who's supposed to be entering his prime years. Robert turned 28 in August 2025, which means the Mets are betting on a comeback from a player whose best season is now 3 years in the rearview mirror. Let's talk about that 2023 season, because it's the foundation of this entire gamble. That year, Robert slashed .264 .315 .542 with 38 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases. He earned an All-Star selection, finished with MVP votes, and took home a Silver Slugger award. His combination of power, speed, and elite defense made him one of the most valuable players in baseball. But baseball history is littered with players who had 1 or 2 elite seasons and then never recaptured that magic. The Mets are betting $20 million in 2026 salary that Robert magically returns to his 2023 form. That's not calculated risk, that's wishful thinking dressed up as roster construction. Now, let's dive into what this trade really represents in the broader context of the Mets' chaotic offseason. After missing out on superstar outfielder Kyle Tucker, who was dealt to the Chicago Cubs in a blockbuster trade, the Mets found themselves in full panic mode. Reports surfaced that they were in a mad scramble to sign Cody Bellinger, the former MVP, who's been seeking a long-term deal. Bellinger has his flaws: elevated strikeout rate, declining power numbers, frustrating consistency. But here's what Bellinger brings: 3 consecutive solid seasons of production, proven postseason experience, including a World Series ring, versatility to play both corner outfield and first base, and a track record of staying relatively healthy. He's a known commodity. Instead of landing Bellinger, the Mets pivoted to Luis Robert Jr., a player with theoretically higher upside, but a catastrophically lower floor. And here's the delicious irony. By removing themselves from the Bellinger sweepstakes, the Mets might have done their crosstown rivals a massive favor. The Bronx was always the most logical destination for Bellinger. He fits their lineup construction and brings championship pedigree. Now that path is clear, gift-wrapped by the Mets' desperation. Let's examine what the Mets surrendered. Luisangel Acuña isn't just any prospect. He's a former top 100 talent who carries legitimate pedigree and shares bloodlines with Ronald Acuña Jr. of the Atlanta Braves. While Luisangel hasn't reached his cousin's stratospheric heights, he showed flashes of potential in limited major league exposure, including speed on the base paths and defensive versatility. Truman Pauly represents the kind of young pitching depth that rebuilding organizations covet. He's not a frontline starter prospect, but he's the type of arm that could develop into a solid middle rotation piece or valuable bullpen weapon. For a White Sox organization staring down a multi-year rebuild, acquiring young, controllable players like Acuña and Pauly represents smart asset management. From Chicago's perspective, this trade is actually a victory. They dumped Roberts' escalating contract, which jumps to $20 million in 2026 and includes a $20 million club option for 2027. They acquired young talent that fits their rebuilding timeline. Chris can point to this deal as evidence of shrewd maneuvering. But for the Mets, they're paying premium prices for damaged goods while their division rivals strengthen. The Philadelphia Phillies just added left-handed ace Jesus Luzardo to a rotation that already features Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Ranger Suarez. They're all in on their championship window. The Atlanta Braves still boast one of the most talented rosters in baseball. Ronald Acuña Jr. is returning from his ACL injury, Spencer Strider is back from Tommy John surgery, and their young core remains intact. And the Mets? They're hoping Luis Roberts' hamstrings, hip flexors, and wrists suddenly become bulletproof. They're crossing their fingers that his swing mechanics magically click back into place. Here's the salary reality. The Mets' 2026 payroll is tracking close to their 2025 levels, just as owner Steve Cohen promised. But this wasn't the spending spree fans envisioned. They thought unlimited resources meant signing Soto-level superstars every winter. Instead, they're getting Bo Bichette coming off his worst season and Luis Robert coming off 2 injury-riddled campaigns. It's dollar store roster construction with luxury brand prices. So, where does this leave the Mets? They're stuck in baseball's most uncomfortable position, too expensive to rebuild, too flawed to truly contend. Luis Robert gives them elite defense in center field. If his offensive production returns to even 80% of his 2023 form, this trade looks genius. But that's a massive if built on hope rather than evidence. The White Sox are laughing all the way to their rebuild. They dumped a contract, acquired young talent, and convinced a desperate competitor to overpay. The Mets are throwing money at problems and hoping something sticks. Will Luis Robert prove everyone wrong? Will he stay healthy and rediscover his power stroke? It's possible. Baseball is full of comeback stories. But betting $20 million and premium prospects on that possibility? That's not championship roster construction. That's crossing your fingers and hoping for magic. All right, baseball fanatics, drop your honest take in the comments below. Are the Mets building something special? Or is this another expensive mistake? Smash that like button if you think the Dodgers dodged a bullet by letting someone else take this gamble. This offseason is getting wild, and we're tracking every move. Let's talk baseball.